She had exactly 5 seconds to make her choice. Get down on her knees, say sorry, and scrub that stain off his shirt with her bare hands. Or step into that underground ring and fight his most dangerous man. Anyone with a brain would have been shaking. Anyone normal would have already been looking for the exit. But Maya Carter was standing there in that fancy room, full of crystal lights and cold marble floors, surrounded by men in expensive suits who carried violence the same way other people carried confidence, and you know what she was thinking. She was thinking about how badly she wanted to crack this man's perfect, scary, untouchable composure wide open. People always say revenge is a dish best served cold. What they never tell you is that sometimes you need a right hook and an uppercut to really make your point land. Sometimes justice doesn't knock politely on the door. Sometimes it kicks the door down with bloody knuckles and a score that desperately needs to be settled. This is the story of Maya Carter, a woman who went from carrying champagne trays to becoming the one thing a mafia boss never saw coming. A woman who bent but never broke, even when breaking would have been so much easier. Maya was 20, 4 years old when she took the job at the Golden Pearl. It was supposed to be temporary, just something to keep the lights on while she figured out what to do next after her brother Darius died in prison. The place had a reputation for being the kind of exclusive that required connections just to get a reservation, and the tips could cover a month's rent in a single night. It seemed like exactly what she needed, a fresh start. She should have known better. On her very first shift, the floor manager, a nervous little man named Victor, pulled her into the back corridor before she even had her apron tied. His voice dropped to something between a whisper and a warning. Listen very carefully, Maya. There are rules here. Rules that aren't negotiable. She nodded, expecting the usual restaurant stuff. Don't talk back to the chef, don't comp drinks without approval, upsell the premium bottles. But Victor kept going. When the private suites are occupied, you don't enter unless you're specifically summoned. You don't ask questions about the guests. You don't make direct eye contact unless they speak to you first. He stopped, his hand trembling just a little as he grabbed her shoulder. And if Mr. Rowe is in the building, you treat him like he's the president, the pope, and your personal guardian angel all rolled into one. Mr. Rowe, she asked, already feeling something heavy and dangerous settling over her like a fog. Victor's face went pale. Just do exactly what I'm telling you, and you'll be fine. She should have walked right out of that building. Should have recognized that any job needing that level of careful, terrified obedience wasn't serving food. It was serving something far darker, but she needed the money, and more than the money, she needed the access. Because Darius didn't just die in prison. He was murdered there, stabbed 17 times in what the official report called a fight he started over territory. Everyone said he was dirty, everyone said he was trouble, but Maya's brother wasn't a criminal. He was a graphic designer who got tangled up with the wrong people. People connected to the Shadow Clan, the organized crime network that quietly ran half of the city from the background. The official story said Darius was dealing secrets, playing both sides, causing trouble, but Maya knew her brother. She knew the truth. Someone framed him, someone powerful enough to completely rewrite what happened. And the Golden Pearl wasn't just an exclusive restaurant. It was the Shadow Clan's crown jewel, their fortress. Their throne room, their playground. Maya wasn't there to serve drinks. She was there to hunt. 8 weeks into the job, she had the entire building mapped in her memory. She knew which servers were on the payroll and which ones were just surviving like her. She knew the private suites rotated based on the guest's rank in the organization. She knew the security cameras had blind spots right near the service elevators, that the kitchen staff changed shifts at 9 o'clock, that the real business happened after midnight when the restaurant closed to the public. She had been patient. Careful, completely invisible. Tonight, all of that ended. Suite 7 glowed with amber light when Maya pushed through the heavy double doors carrying a tray of premium bottles. The room was a study in controlled, expensive darkness. Dark wood panels on the walls, leather chairs the color of dried blood. a chandelier throwing broken light across the faces of men who wore their violence like bespoke suits. They barely glanced at her. To them, she was furniture, decoration. A pretty girl in a black dress who knew her place. Good, let them think that. She moved through the room with practiced ease, setting glasses down without a sound, pouring liquor that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her hands were steady, her face was completely calm, but inside her heart was a clenched fist, because there at the head of that table sat Dante Rowe. She had seen photographs, security footage, blurry images captured by people who apparently didn't live long enough to take better ones. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared her for the reality of him. He was beautiful the way sharp things are beautiful. Elegant and deadly, his suit was charcoal gray, cut so perfectly it looked like it had been painted directly onto his body. His hair was swept back from a face that could have belonged to a CEO or a movie star, all clean lines and sharp angles. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath completely. Dark, calculating, with absolutely zero mercy living behind them. This was the man who ran the Shadow Clan's entire West Coast operation, the man whose signature appeared on arrangements that destroyed lives, the man who held the answers about what really happened to Darius. He was speaking quietly to someone across the table when Maya moved closer with the final bottle, a vintage spirit sealed with gold leaf, the kind reserved for closing deals or celebrating victories. She had practiced this exact moment in her tiny apartment. She had rehearsed the angle, the timing, the precise pressure needed to make it look like a pure accident. The bottle slipped from her tray, time crystallized. She watched the glass tumble through the air, saw the liquid arc like a promise being made, felt the cold splash hit her hands a split second before it completely drenched Dante Rowe's chest. The room went silent. Not the kind of silence that comes from surprise, the kind that comes right before something very bad happens to someone. The liquid spread across his shirt like a stain on silk, dark and damning. The sharp scent of expensive spirits filled the air like an accusation. Maya stepped back, her eyes wide, her mouth forming a perfect circle of manufactured horror. "I'm so sorry, I don't apologize." His voice was quiet, rougher than she had expected. He stood slowly, his gaze fixed on her face with an intensity that felt like being pinned to a display board. Around them, the other men rose from their seats. Maya recognized several faces from her weeks of research. Senior men, enforcers, the kind of people who solved problems with blunt instruments and locations where bodies would never surface. Dante Rowe raised one hand. They all froze immediately. He took one step toward her, then another. Maya held her ground even though every single instinct she had was screaming at her to run. She was close enough now to see the details the photographs had always missed. The thin scar along his jawline, the way his pupils dilated slightly as he studied her face, the controlled fury living in the set of his shoulders. "You know what that bottle was worth?" he asked softly. Maya's pulse was hammering hard against her ribs. "I can pay for it," she said. "I'll work extra shifts. I'll $50,000. He said it like he was commenting on the temperature outside. "Vintage, one of 12 bottles left in existence. And you just poured it on me like it was cheap wine from a grocery store." Someone behind him laughed, sharp and cruel. Dante Rowe never looked away from Maya's face. "You have two options right now. You get on your knees, apologize properly, and clean this stain with your bare hands." He gestured to his ruined shirt, his expression completely unreadable. "Or you step into the ring downstairs and face my man Stone." 5 seconds to choose. The room held its breath. Maya should have been terrified, should have been calculating how fast she could run, and which exit was closest, and whether she'd make it to her car before they caught her. But standing there with 50 pairs of eyes drilling into her back and Dante Rowe's dark gaze burning into her face, all she felt was the cold, clarifying rage she had been carrying like a stone in her chest since the day they told her Darius was dead. This man thought she was nothing, thought she was disposable. He had absolutely no idea what he had just challenged. "I'll take the fight," she said. The words dropped into the silence like rocks dropped into still water. Someone gasped, someone else swore under their breath. Dante Rowe's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or the very first spark of real interest. "You're certain?" he asked. Maya lifted her chin and met his gaze with every single ounce of defiance she had been hiding for 8 weeks. "I'm certain." For a long moment he simply looked at her, really looked like he was seeing her for the very first time. His gaze traveled slowly down her face, her neck, her shoulders, cataloging details with an intensity that felt both invasive and strangely intimate. Then he smiled. It was a terrible smile, beautiful and cold. "Downstairs," he said. 10 minutes, don't make me wait." He turned and walked toward the door, the other men parting before him like water moving around a stone. Maya stood alone in the center of the room, her hands shaking now that the adrenaline was finally catching up with her body. Her heart slamming against her ribs like it was trying to escape. She had done it. She had gotten his attention. Now she just had to survive what came next. The lower level of the Golden Pearl wasn't on any official building blueprint. Maya had discovered it 3 weeks into her job, following one of the senior men through a service door that led to a staircase going down instead of to the parking garage. She had memorized the route, marked the cameras, noted the security setup, but she had never actually been inside. The room they led her to was a twisted version of elegance. Polished concrete floors dark enough to hide whatever had been spilled on them before. Exposed brick walls, raw and brutal looking, but hanging from the ceiling were those same crystal chandeliers casting soft golden light across the space like a blessing over a slaughterhouse. In the center sat a raised platform. Not exactly a boxing ring, not exactly a cage, but something in between. Padded mats, no ropes, surrounded by a low barrier that wouldn't stop anyone from falling out, but would make climbing back in look embarrassing. Men lined the walls with drinks in their hands, money already changing hands as they placed their bets. Maya caught pieces of conversation as she moved through the crowd. "She's dead in 30 seconds. Stone is going to break her in half. 50,000 on a first-minute knockout. Nobody bet on her. Nobody even considered it as a possibility." Victor appeared at her elbow, his face the color of old chalk. "Maya, you can still apologize. Mr. Rowe would accept it." "I'm not apologizing. You don't understand what you're doing," he said desperately. "Stone has killed people in this ring." "Kill them? This isn't a game. This isn't I know exactly what this is," she said. She turned to face him, and something in her expression made him physically step backward. "Where do I change?" He pointed to a side door with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking. The changing room was small and clinical. Someone had left workout clothes on the bench. Black shorts, a sports top, hand wraps. Maya stripped out of her uniform with mechanical precision. Her mind already shifting into a space she hadn't occupied in 5 years. The space where Maya the waitress didn't exist. Where only Maya the fighter remained. She had started boxing at 15, following Darius to the gym after school. He had wanted to learn self-defense. She had wanted to hit something. By 17, she was competing. By 19, she had won a major championship in her weight class. By 21, she had been scouted for an elite training program. Then Darius got arrested. Their mother got sick. The money disappeared completely, and Maya's dreams of fighting professionally evaporated like smoke on a windy day. But muscle memory never forgets. Her hands still knew exactly how to wrap themselves. Her body still knew how to move. And the rage had only gotten sharper and harder with time. She stared at herself in the mirror. Lean and muscled in ways her uniform had completely hidden. Her eyes were cold and steady. This was who she really was. The door opened and a man stepped inside. Not Victor. Someone with authority in the way he moved and stood. He looked her over with a clinical, assessing kind of look. "You can still back out," he said. "Mr. Rowe doesn't want to waste time if you're going to quit." "I won't quit. Stone won't hold back just because you're a woman. He's put men in the hospital. Some of them didn't wake up." Maya met his gaze. Then Stone should be careful. Something that looked almost like respect flickered across his face. 3-minute rounds, no time limit. Fight ends when someone can't get up or submits. No weapons, no biting. Everything else is negotiable. He paused. Any questions? Just one. Maya flexed her wrapped hands. Where's my opponent? The man smiled grimly. Already in the ring. The crowd's energy hit her like a physical wall when she stepped back into the main room. Bodies pressed together, voices rising with anticipation. Maya moved through them, feeling their eyes on her, feeling their doubt, feeling their hunger for violence. She climbed onto the platform. Stone was already waiting. He was enormous, at least 6'4", shoulders like a linebacker, arms thick with muscle, and covered in tattoos that twisted all the way up his neck. His face was brutal, scarred, with a nose that had been broken and healed wrong more than once. He wore only fight shorts. His bare chest looked like a canvas of violence that had been survived. He looked at Maya like she was an insect that had wandered somewhere it definitely shouldn't be. She looked at him like he was already bleeding. The crowd fell completely silent as Dante Rowe stepped to the edge of the platform. He had changed his shirt, the ruined one replaced by black silk that made him look like some kind of dark angel. His eyes found Maya's across the space. The rules are simple, he announced, his voice carrying easily over the hushed room. 3-minute rounds, no breaks. Fight continues until someone gives up or can't continue. He paused, his gaze still locked onto Maya. Begin. Stone moved first. For a big man, he was fast. He closed the distance in 2 strides, his right hand already pulled back for a swing that would have taken Maya's head clean off her shoulders if it had connected. It didn't connect. She slipped inside his guard, her body moving on pure instinct, and drove her fist into his ribs. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession, she felt the impact shudder all the way up her arm, felt the satisfying give of flesh and muscle. Stone grunted, grabbed for her. Maya was already gone, dancing back, her footwork clean and precise. The crowd made a sound. Someone shouted encouragement to Stone. Someone else laughed nervously. Stone's expression hardened. He came at her again, more careful this time, his hands up in a proper guard. He threw a jab to test her defense. Maya blocked it and countered with a hook to his jaw that snapped his head sideways. The crowd gasped out loud. Stone touched his mouth. His fingers came away bloody. He stared at the blood for a moment, then back at Maya. His eyes had changed completely. He wasn't looking at an insect anymore. He was looking at a threat. What followed was brutal poetry. Stone had weight and power and reach. Every punch he threw carried enough force to break bones. But Maya had speed and precision, and 5 years of rage condensed tightly into every single strike. She moved like water, like smoke, always just barely out of reach until she wanted to be close, and when she got close, she made it hurt. She worked his body systematically, ribs, center, sides, every shot calculated to drain his stamina, to make him slower, to make him sloppy. She took some hits herself, a glancing blow to her temple that made stars explode behind her eyes, a body shot that drove all the air from her lungs at once. But she gave back worse. The chandelier light caught the sweat on their skin and turned it gold and crimson where blood mixed with effort. The sound of impact echoed through the room like a drumbeat. Stone's breathing grew heavy and labored. Maya's knuckles split inside her wraps. Neither of them stopped. In the second round, Stone caught her with a right hand that sent her stumbling. She felt her lips split and tasted copper. The crowd roared. Stone pressed his advantage, throwing combinations that forced Maya back toward the edge of the platform. She let him think he was winning, let him commit his full weight forward. Then she exploded upward with an uppercut that started at her hips and traveled through her whole body and snapped Stone's head back so hard his mouth guard flew out of his mouth. He staggered, blinked. Maya didn't give him a single second to recover. She unleashed everything she had. Left hook to the temple, right cross to the jaw, another hook to the body. Stone's guard crumbled, his legs wobbled underneath him. She saw the exact moment his consciousness flickered, that split second where the lights dimmed behind his eyes. Her final combination was textbook perfect: jab to set up the distance, cross to rotate his chin, hook to turn off the lights. Stone collapsed, not fell, collapsed. His legs gave out completely, and he dropped to the mat like a puppet, with every single string cut at once. His eyes rolled back, his massive body went completely still. Silence crashed over the room like a wave. Maya stood over him, her chest heaving, her hands trembling with adrenaline, blood dripping from her split knuckles onto the mat. She was a vision of controlled violence, beautiful and terrible and absolutely unbreakable. Slowly, she raised her eyes to find Dante Rowe. He hadn't moved from his position at the edge of the platform, hadn't flinched, hadn't looked away once. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were burning with something that made Maya's breath catch in her throat. Not anger, fascination, hunger, something darker than desire and more dangerous than respect. He was looking at her like he had just discovered something entirely new, like he was already imagining all the ways to understand it better. The crowd erupted. Men shouted, some in outrage, some in complete disbelief. Money changed hands frantically. Someone was screaming about the fight being fixed. Someone else was calling for a rematch. Dante Rowe raised one hand. Instant silence. "Get him out of here," he said quietly, gesturing to Stone's unconscious form. "Get medical if he needs it." Two men scrambled onto the platform and dragged Stone away. Maya remained completely frozen in place, her body still vibrating with adrenaline, her gaze locked on Dante Rowe's face. He stepped onto the platform, moved toward her with that same predatory grace. The crowd parted automatically. Everyone suddenly very interested in looking anywhere but directly at their boss. When he reached Maya, he stopped so close she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Could smell his cologne, something expensive and dark, cedar and smoke. "You lied to me," he said softly. Maya's pulse was thundering in her ears. "You never asked what I was before I started serving drinks." His lips curved into something that might have been a smile on someone less dangerous. "You're not a waitress." "Not tonight. I wasn't." He studied her face, his gaze traveling over her split lip, her bruised temple, the blood smeared across her cheek. When he reached up to touch her face, Maya forced herself not to flinch. His thumb brushed the cut on her lip. The touch was gentle, shockingly gentle for a man who had just watched her destroy his best fighter. "Who are you?" he asked. Maya held his gaze, let him see the truth in her eyes. Not the whole truth, not yet, but enough to intrigue him, enough to make him want to know more. "Someone who doesn't apologize," she said. Dante Rowe's smile widened. "Good. I hate apologies." He dropped his hand but didn't step back. "Come with me," he said. "We need to talk." It wasn't a request. Maya glanced at the crowd, at the men watching with barely hidden hostility, at Victor hovering near the stairs, looking like he might actually pass out. When she looked back at Dante Rowe, his expression had hardened into something absolute. "They won't touch you," he said, answering the question she hadn't even asked out loud. "From this moment forward, you're under my protection. Anyone who harms you answers to me." The words hung in the air like a declaration, like a brand being pressed into the skin of the situation. Maya nodded slowly. Dante Rowe turned and walked toward the stairs. After a moment, Maya followed, her legs shaking now that the adrenaline was fading, her knuckles throbbing, her entire body starting to fully register the damage she had taken. But as she climbed those stairs behind him, moving from the underground arena into the dim corridors of the Golden Pearl, one single thought was echoing through her mind. She had done it. She had gotten close to Dante Rowe. Now came the dangerous part. Now came the lies, the careful performance, the manipulation of being exactly what he needed while hiding what she really wanted. Now came the moment she had to decide something important. Was she hunting him, or was he already hunting her? The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building that didn't officially exist on any city record. Maya registered details automatically as they rode up in the private elevator. No buttons on the panel, just a biometric scanner. Security cameras in every corner. The doors opened directly into Dante Rowe's personal space. She had expected pure luxury. What she got was something far more complicated than that. The main room stretched out in shadows and selective light. Floor to ceiling windows overlooked the city. Los Angeles glittering below, like scattered diamonds against black velvet. The furniture was minimal, dark leather, sharp angles, nothing soft or welcoming, but the art on the walls was extraordinary. Original pieces that belonged in museums, the contrast felt deliberate, beauty surrounded by darkness. Elegance wrapped in threat. "Sit," Dante said, gesturing to the leather sofa near the windows. "I'll get ice." Maya remained standing, her body still on high alert despite the exhaustion creeping through her muscles. She watched him move through the space, disappearing into what she assumed was a kitchen. His movements were fluid, controlled, with no wasted motion and no hesitation. When he returned, he carried a first aid kit and a glass filled with amber liquid. "Drink this first." He handed her the glass. "Whiskey. It'll help with the pain." Maya accepted it but didn't drink immediately. "What is this?" she asked. "What is what?" She gestured at the room at him, at the surreal situation of sitting in a crime boss's penthouse after beating his best fighter unconscious. "You should be furious. You should be making me disappear for what happened downstairs." Dante settled into the chair across from her, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "You think Stone was humiliated. I knocked him out in front of your entire organization. You beat him in a fair fight. There's no shame in losing to someone better." He tilted his head, studying her carefully. The shame would have been refusing the challenge. "Running away, you didn't run." Maya finally took a sip of the whiskey. It burned smoothly down her throat. "I'm still not sure why you're being reasonable about this." "Reasonable?" His laugh was soft and dark. "Maya, I am many things, but reasonable isn't really one of them. I'm interested. There's a difference." "Interested in what exactly?" "In why a woman with your skills was serving drinks in my restaurant. In what you're actually doing here. In why you would deliberately spill a $50,000 bottle on me just to get my attention." He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his gaze pinning her in place. "You wanted this fight. You engineered it. The question is why." Maya's heart was hammering, but she kept her expression calm and steady. This was the moment, the precipice. She could lie completely, or she could give him enough truth to make herself believable. "My brother," she said quietly. "His name was Darius. He died in prison 6 months ago. The report said he was dealing information to your organization's enemies, that he started a fight and got himself killed." Dante Rowe's expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. "Recognition, maybe. I remember that name. He wasn't dirty," Maya said. "He was a graphic designer who made one mistake. He took a freelance job for the wrong client. Someone connected to your world. And when things went bad, someone made sure he took the fall." She set the whiskey glass down, her hands steady despite the fury building in her chest. "I came here to find out who. I came here to make them pay." Silence stretched between them. Outside, the city pulsed with light and life, completely oblivious to the darkness in this room. "So you infiltrated my organization," Dante said slowly. "Worked here for weeks, learned our patterns, and tonight you forced me to notice you by staging an accident that could have gotten you killed." He smiled, and it was a terrible, beautiful thing. "That's either brilliant or suicidal. Maybe both. Definitely both." He stood, picking up the first aid kit. "Let me see your hands." Maya hesitated. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, his voice softer now. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. Now give me your hands." She extended them slowly. Her knuckles were split, blood dried around the wounds, bruises already forming. Dante Rowe knelt in front of her, actually knelt, putting himself at her level, and began unwrapping the hand wraps with surprising gentleness. "Your brother was caught in something he didn't understand," he said, his attention focused on carefully cleaning her wounds. "The client he worked for was trying to launder money through fake design contracts. When we discovered it, we shut the whole operation down. Your brother was questioned and then released. We had no interest in an innocent civilian. Maya's breath caught. Then who? Someone wanted him silenced. Someone with access to our records who could manipulate the story. He dabbed antiseptic on her knuckles. Maya hissed at the sting. I didn't order his death, but I can't say the same for everyone in my organization. Do you know who did it? Dante was quiet for a long moment, his fingers working carefully to bandage her hands. When he finally looked up, his expression was raw in a way that made Maya's pulse stutter unexpectedly. I have suspicions, he said, but no proof, and in my world, accusations without proof are just suicide notes written in advance. Then help me find the proof, he laughed, sharp and genuinely bitter. Why would I do that? You just told me you infiltrated my organization with the intent to destroy someone inside it. I should have you removed as a security risk right now, but you won't, no. His thumb traced the edge of her bandaged palm. Do you know why? Maya shook her head, not trusting her voice. Because I need someone exactly like you. He stood, creating distance between them, and walked to the windows. His silhouette was sharp against the city lights below. I'm trapped, Maya. I've been trapped since I was 20, 2 years old, and every single year the chains get tighter. I don't understand. He turned to face her, my mother. She runs the organization. I'm just her puppet. Her attack dog, her presentable face for the outside world, and she keeps me on a very short leash. The name sent ice through Maya's veins. Even she had heard the whispers about this woman. Rumors of ruthlessness that made her son look almost gentle by comparison. She controls me through blackmail, Dante continued, his voice flat and emotionless. Medical records. Documents with my signature. Evidence that I ended my father's life when he was dying. Maya's breath stopped completely. He was suffering, Dante said, and for the first time she heard real pain living underneath his words. Months of agony, begging to die, the doctors wouldn't help, so I did. I held his hand and let him go peacefully. She blackmailed you for showing mercy. She used it as proof of murder. In this world, family turning on family is the ultimate unforgivable thing. It doesn't matter that he wanted to go. It doesn't matter that I was helping him. If that evidence surfaces, everyone would demand my death. He met Maya's gaze, so I do everything she says, run her operations, clean up her messes, smile and nod and pretend I'm the one in control. Maya's mind was racing. This wasn't what she had expected at all. She had come here looking for a monster. Instead, she had found, what exactly? A prisoner. A man capable of both tenderness and violence in equal measure. Why are you telling me this? Because I watched you fight tonight. I watched you refuse to submit, refuse to break. Even when you were outweighed and outmatched, he moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the dim space. You're not afraid of consequences. You're not afraid of me. He stopped right in front of her, and I think you are exactly reckless enough to help me. Help you do what? Destroy my mother, find the blackmail, destroy it, and free me from her control. His smile was sharp as broken glass. In exchange, I'll give you access to every record we have. Every name, every operation, every secret. We'll find who framed your brother together, and then I'll let you have them. The offer hung in the air between them. Dangerous and seductive all at once. Maya should have said no, should have recognized this for the trap it very easily could be. But staring into Dante Rowe's eyes, and seeing the desperate fury hidden behind his controlled mask, she realized something. They were the same, both trapped by the past, both willing to burn the entire world down to escape it. I have conditions, she said. Name them. I want proof. Show me these records exist. Show me you're telling the truth. Done. What else? If we do this, if we take her down, you don't touch my brother's killer. That one is mine. Dante's smile widened. I wouldn't dream of taking that from you. Anything else? Maya stood, closing the distance between them until she could feel the heat from his body, could smell the cedar and smoke of his cologne mixing with the sharp copper tang of her own blood. If you betray me, she said softly, I will kill you. I don't care about your empire or your mother or the blackmail. I will put you in the ground. He laughed. Actually laughed, the sound rich and completely genuine. There it is. That's exactly what I saw in that ring. That's what I need. He extended his hand. Do we have a deal? Maya stared at his offered hand. This was insane. Forming an alliance with the head of the very organization that had destroyed her brother. Trusting a man who killed for a living. Walking deeper into the darkness instead of escaping it. But she had stopped believing in escape the day Darius died. And now she only believed in one thing, vengeance. She took his hand. His grip was firm and warm, his fingers closing around hers like a promise and a threat wrapped together. They stood like that for a long moment, two damaged people recognizing something broken in each other. I'll show you the records tomorrow, Dante said. Tonight you should rest. There's a guest room down the hall. You're safe here. I'm never safe, neither am I. But for tonight we can pretend. He released her hand slowly. Maya walked toward the hallway he had indicated, her body finally acknowledging the exhaustion and pain it had been holding back for hours. At the doorway, she paused and looked back. Dante Rowe stood silhouetted against the windows, a dark figure surrounded by light. Beautiful and terrible and utterly, completely alone. Why did you really tell me all this? She asked. You could have made me disappear. You didn't need to offer me anything. He turned, and the look in his eyes made something in Maya's chest tighten unexpectedly. Because the moment you chose to fight instead of submit, he said quietly. I knew you were the only person in this city who might understand what it's like to be trapped in your own skin. To be forced to become something you hate. He paused, and I am so tired of being alone with it. The honesty in those words hit Maya harder than any punch she had taken that night. She nodded once, then disappeared into the guest room before he could see the tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. Behind the closed door, she collapsed onto the bed, her bandaged hands shaking. She had come here for revenge, for justice, for Darius, but now she had stumbled into something far more complicated, an alliance with a monster who might not actually be a monster at all. A man who wore his darkness openly while she was still pretending hers didn't exist. Maya closed her eyes and saw her brother's face. Remembered his laugh, his terrible jokes, the way he had always believed in her even when she had completely stopped believing in herself. I'm sorry, she whispered to the memory. I'm sorry I'm not doing this the right way. I'm sorry I'm making deals with dangerous people. But I promise I'll find who killed you, and I'll make them pay. Outside her door, the penthouse was silent. But in that silence, something new had been born, an alliance forged in blood and desperation, a partnership that would either save them both or destroy everything. And neither of them had any idea which one it was going to be. Morning came wrapped in gray light. Maya woke disoriented, her body one massive bruise, her mind taking several seconds to remember where she was. The guest room was clean and quietly elegant. White sheets, dark furniture, a single piece of art on the wall that looked like violence expressed in watercolor. She showered carefully, wincing as the hot water found every cut and bruise. When she came out, she found fresh clothes laid out on the bed. Black jeans, a silk shirt the color of deep wine. They fit perfectly, which should have been unsettling, but somehow wasn't. Dante was in the kitchen when she found him. He had changed into casual clothes, dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked different in daylight, softer somehow, though the danger was still very much there, just beneath the surface. Coffee, he asked without looking up from whatever he was reading on his tablet. Please, he poured her a cup. Black, no sugar, which she hadn't told him, was how she took it. Another small invasion of privacy that should have bothered her far more than it did. Sleep well. I've had worse nights. Meyer accepted the coffee, taking a seat at the kitchen island. I don't sleep much anymore. Old habit. He finally looked at her, his gaze doing a quick clinical assessment of her face. How do you feel? Like I went 3 rounds with a freight train. His lips curved slightly. Stone will be pleased to hear that. He regained consciousness around 4 in the morning, by the way. First thing he asked was whether you were real or if he had dreamed the whole thing. What did you tell him? that he'd lost to someone better, and that if he wanted a rematch, he'd have to earn it. Dante set down his tablet. He respected that. You'll have his loyalty now, which is worth more than you know. Maya wasn't sure how to process that, so she focused on her coffee. The silence between them was oddly comfortable. I have something for you, Dante said after a moment. He stood and retrieved a thin folder from a drawer. The records, the blackmail, everything you asked to see. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she opened the folder. The documents inside were devastating in their clinical precision. Hospital records, medication charts with Dante's signature, a death certificate, and then there were photographs. Photographs of Dante sitting beside his father's bed, holding the old man's hand. The images had been captured from a concealed angle. His face was visible and raw with grief. His father's face was peaceful. She had cameras installed, Dante said quietly. I didn't know until afterward. She confronted me at the funeral with copies. Maya stared at a photo of him, wiping tears from his face. Something in her chest cracked quietly. This is monstrous. This is my mother. He took the folder back gently. She sees love as a vulnerability to exploit. She spent my entire life teaching me that caring about anyone is the same as handing them a weapon to use against you. And yet you told me all of this, showed me your weakness. Maybe I'm tired of being what she made me. He locked the folder away in a safe built into the wall. Or maybe I'm just curious to see if you'll use it against me. Maya met his gaze. I won't. Why not? Because I know what it's like to love someone the world thinks you shouldn't. She thought of Darius, of the way people had looked at her after his arrest, like his sins had somehow stained her just by proximity. And I know what it's like to have that love weaponized against you. Something shifted in Dante's expression. Recognition, maybe, or the very beginning of trust. There's someone I want you to meet, he said. He'll help us with what comes next. The man who arrived an hour later was not what Maya had expected. He was welled, rest early 40s, with the kind of casual style that quietly announced old money. His smile was warm and appeared genuine when Dante introduced him. Maya, this is Edmund Thorne, my legal consultant. One of the few people in this organization I actually trust. Edmund extended his hand, his grip firm and professional. It's a pleasure. I've heard remarkable things about last night. Maya shook his hand, automatically cataloging details the way she always did. Expensive watch, careful grooming, a slight tan line on his ring finger. His eyes were kind, but there was sharp intelligence behind them that suggested he missed very little. Edmund handles the legitimate side of our operations, Dante explained. Real estate investments, the fronts that keep us credible publicly. More importantly, he knows how my mother structures her security, Edmund added, where she keeps her most sensitive documents, including the blackmail material, though I should warn you, getting access to it won't be simple. He pulled out his tablet, bringing up schematics on the screen. She keeps her most valuable assets in a private vault at her estate. The security is serious, biometric scanners, armed guards. A digital system I designed myself, ironically enough. There are exactly 3 people with access, he continued. She herself, her head of security, and me. Can you get us in? I can handle the digital security, Edmund said. The guards and the biometrics are your problem. He glanced at Dante. This is extraordinarily dangerous. If she suspects what we're doing, she won't, Dante said, because we're going to give her exactly what she wants. His smile was cold, a reason to host one of her legendary parties, an event important enough that she'll want me there as her visible, presentable face. An event that will require her complete attention while we move against her. Understanding dawned on Maya. You're going to create a distraction. We're going to stage a performance, something big enough and public enough that she can't resist using it to demonstrate her power. Dante's eyes were sharp, and while she's busy playing queen, we'll be robbing her castle. Edmund nodded slowly. It could work. Her birthday is in 3 weeks. She always hosts something extravagant. judges, diplomats, anyone she's bought or put pressure on. Security will be heavy, but the chaos of the party itself will give us cover. 3 weeks, Maya repeated. That's not much time, which means we start now. Dante stood. Edmund, I need you to reach out to your contacts. See if anyone has heard anything about Darius, who wanted him silenced, who had the access to arrange it. Quietly, Edmund gathered his things. Maya, it was a genuine pleasure to meet you. I look forward to working together. After he left, Maya found herself alone with Dante again. The penthouse felt smaller somehow, more intimate. You trust him, she asked, as much as I trust anyone. He's been with me for 5 years, never given me a reason to doubt him. Dante moved to the windows, looking out at the daylight city. Why, do you sense something? Maya frowned. She couldn't quite articulate it, just a feeling, a slight discomfort in the way Edmund's eyes had stayed on Dante when he thought no one was watching. Possessive, almost, but that could easily be loyalty, or it could be her own paranoia. No, she said finally. Just being careful, good. Paranoia keeps you alive in this world. He turned back to her. Come here. Let me check your hands. Maya crossed to him, extending her bandaged palms. He unwrapped them carefully, his fingers gentle as they examined the healing cuts. The intimacy of the gesture made her pulse quicken in a way she didn't expect. They're healing well, he said softly. You'll have scars, but they'll fade. I don't mind scars, no. I don't imagine you do. His thumb traced the edge of one cut, the touch sending a current up her arm. You're not afraid of pain, that's rare. Pain is just information. It tells you you're still alive. Dante's eyes lifted to hers and the intensity in them stole her breath. You're remarkable. Do you know that? Maya's heart was hammering. They were standing too close. The space between them charged with something dangerous and warm. She should have stepped back, should have created distance. She didn't. I'm just someone who refuses to stay down, she whispered. No, his hand moved to her face, cupping her jaw with a gentleness that contradicted everything she knew about him. You're someone who turns pain into power, who takes what should break you and makes it into a weapon. He stopped, swallowed. For the first time since she had met him, he looked uncertain. I'm what? Maya asked, her voice barely making a sound. Mine, he said, or you could be, if you wanted. The word hung between them, heavy with everything it implied. This wasn't just an alliance anymore. This was something else, something darker and more complicated. Maya knew she should say no, should maintain professional distance, but standing there with his hand on her face and his eyes burning into hers, she realized the truth. She had stopped seeing him as just a target, the moment he had knelt in front of her to bandage her wounds. Stopped seeing him as just a monster when he had shown her those photographs of his grief. He was a man who was trapped and desperate and dangerous. Just like her, I want, she whispered. Dante's control shattered. He kissed her like he had been starving for it. Like she was air and he had been drowning. His mouth was demanding and fierce. Katie responded with equal intensity, her bandaged hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. They collided, all heat and desperate need and months of isolation, finally finding release. He lifted her easily, her legs wrapping around his waist, her back against the cool glass of the window. The city stretched out far below them, completely oblivious to the fire burning in this penthouse. His hands moved under her shirt, mapping her skin with possessive reverence. Maya arched into his touch, every nerve ending alive with sensation. This was reckless, dangerous, everything she had told herself not to do. She didn't care. His mouth moved to her neck and Maya's head fell back, a soft sound escaping her lips. She felt his smile against her throat. Tell me to stop, he murmured, and I will. Don't stop, she breathed. Don't you dare stop. He carried her away from the window, through the penthouse to his bedroom, darker than the rest of the space. All shadows and silk sheets. He laid her down carefully, then covered her body with his. What followed was a claiming. A surrender. Two broken people finding comfort in each other's darkness. Their bodies speaking truths their mouths hadn't been able to form yet. Maya lost herself completely in sensation. The way he whispered her name like it was both a prayer and a curse. Every touch was intense and deliberate. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets, their breathing slowly returning to normal. Dante's fingers traced idle patterns on her shoulder. Maya's head rested on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "This complicates things," he said quietly. "Everything about this is already complicated." True, his arm tightened around her. "But Maya, this isn't just strategy for me. This isn't just convenience." She lifted her head to look at him. "What is it then? I don't know yet." His expression was raw and open in a way she hadn't seen before. "But I know I don't want to let you go, and in my world that's dangerous. People I care about become targets. Leverage, they get hurt to control me." Maya thought of Darius, of how love had been her greatest weakness and her greatest strength all at once. "Then we protect each other, make ourselves too dangerous to touch. You say that like it's simple. It's not simple. But it's possible." She pressed her palm over his heart. "We take down your mother. We find my brother's killer. And then we decide what comes next." Dante caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. The kiss he pressed to her knuckles was tender in a way completely at odds with the violence she knew he was capable of. 3 weeks, he said. "We have 3 weeks to prepare, to plan, to become strong enough to survive what's coming. Then we'd better not waste time." His smile was sharp and beautiful. "No, we'd better not." They stayed like that as the daylight faded into evening. Two people balanced on the edge of something that would either save them or destroy them completely. Neither of them knew which, but in that moment, wrapped in shadows and silk, they didn't care. 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation and closeness. Maya moved into the penthouse officially, her old apartment left behind like the life she had walked away from. During the days, she trained hard, rebuilding the stamina she had let slip, working alongside Stone, who had become an unlikely ally in the weeks since their fight. At night, she and Dante planned, their strategies punctuated by stolen moments that grew more intense with every passing day. They were becoming dangerous together. Edmund proved invaluable, providing detailed information about the security systems at Dante's mother's estate, her routines, her carefully hidden vulnerabilities. He seemed genuinely committed to their success, though Maya occasionally caught him watching Dante with an expression she couldn't quite read. Now the night had arrived. The boss's estate sprawled across a hillside in Pacific Palisades, like a monument to wealth disguised as a home. The party was already in full swing when Maya arrived on Dante's arm, dressed in midnight blue silk that transformed her into someone who belonged completely in this world of casual cruelty and expensive taste. "Breathe," Dante murmured as they entered. "You look perfect." Maya forced her shoulders to relax. Around them, the city's elite mingled freely, politicians whose campaigns had been funded by this woman, judges who owed her favors, criminals who had been made respectable by her money. The air smelled of champagne and corruption. The boss herself held court in the center of the ballroom. She was smaller than Maya had expected, elegant in a way that made her seem almost fragile until you saw her eyes. Those eyes were black ice, calculating, merciless, ancient with experience. "Dante," her voice carried across the room. "Come introduce me to your guest." Maya felt his hand tighten on her waist, a warning and a comfort at the same time. They approached together. "Mother, happy birthday." He kissed her cheek with practiced warmth. "This is Maya Carter." "Maya, my mother." Maya extended her hand, meeting the older woman's gaze without flinching. The handshake was brief. The assessment that accompanied it was brutal. Maya felt herself being weighed, measured, placed in a category. When the older woman released her hand, she smiled. But it was the smile of a predator who had just decided not to strike. "Yet, the fighter," she said. "Yes, I heard about that. You embarrassed Stone quite thoroughly." Her gaze shifted to Dante. "I assume there's a reason you've brought her into our world. She's useful," Dante said smoothly. "Skilled, loyal. Everything you taught me to value." The wordplay was subtle, praising his mother while reminding her of the lessons she had used to shape him. The older woman's smile widened. How pragmatic. Your father would have disapproved. He was always too sentimental. But I suppose I raised you better than that. She turned her attention back to Maya. Enjoy the party, Miss Carter. And do try not to break anyone tonight. These guests are expensive to replace. They were dismissed. Maya followed Dante through the crowd, her heart hammering. She knows something, Maya said quietly. She always knows something, but she doesn't know everything, not yet. He guided her toward a side corridor, his hand steady on her back. Edmund will create the distraction in 15 minutes. That's our window. The vault was located in the estate's west wing, disguised as a wine storage room. Meyer and Dante moved through the shadows, avoiding cameras Edmund had supposedly disabled. The door required both a code and a biometric scan. Dante provided the code. The scanner read his palm. The vault opened with a whisper of hydraulics. Inside was a cathedral of secrets. Filing cabinets lined every wall, each labeled with years and names. Digital servers hummed in temperature-controlled cases. And in the center, protected behind glass, the physical documents she deemed most valuable. There, Dante pointed to a file labeled with his father's name. That's what we came for. But Maya's attention had already been caught by something else. A file with her brother's name on it. Her hands trembled as she pulled it from the shelf. Maya, we don't have time. I have to know. She opened the file. The first document was a police report from the night Darius was arrested. Standard charges, normal procedure. But underneath were communications. Emails between members of the organization's financial division and someone with the police department. Arrangements for evidence to be planted. Money changing hands. Her brother had been guilty of the original mistake, taking the design job without knowing it was money laundering. But he had also been cooperating with investigators, trying to make things right. Someone had found out. Someone had decided he was too dangerous to leave alive. Maya's vision blurred as she read the final document. The order for what happened to Darius, signed by someone with the authority to make prisoners disappear. The signature at the bottom made her blood go cold. Not his mother's, not Dante's, Edmund Thorne's. No, she whispered. No, that's not. The vault door slammed shut. Meyer and Dante spun toward the sound. Through the reinforced glass, they could see Edmund standing in the corridor. His expression was apologetic, but completely resolved. I'm sorry, his voice came through an intercom. I truly am, but you've both become too dangerous. Dante moved to the door, his palm slamming against the glass. Edmund, don't do this. We can talk. We're past talking. Edmund's smile was sad. I've spent 5 years trying to guide you, trying to shape you into what this organization needs. But you keep holding onto these pointless emotional attachments. Your father's death should have freed you. Instead, you let his memory control you. You were working for my mother this whole time, Dante said, realization spreading across his face. I work for the organization. Sometimes that means working with your mother. Sometimes it means working around her. Edmund adjusted his cufflinks casually. She wanted you controlled through guilt. I suggested something more permanent. And now, thanks to Maya's investigation, I have the perfect opportunity. Maya clutched her brother's file, rage burning through her shock. You killed him, you murdered my brother to protect yourself. I eliminated someone who was cooperating with investigators, Edmund said. Your brother knew too much about our financial arrangements. I couldn't allow that information to spread. His expression hardened. Just like I can't allow either of you to leave this vault alive. The explosion will be tragic. A gas leak during the party. You'll be found together in the wreckage while attempting to steal from the family. He turned to leave. Wait. Dante's voice cracked with desperation. Edmund, please, if you ever cared about me at all, I did care. Edmund looked back, and for a moment his mask slipped completely, revealing something raw and complicated underneath. I still do. That's why this hurts, but you left me no choice. Then he was gone. Meyer and Dante stared at each other in the sudden silence. The vault was sealed. The air recycling system had been shut off. She could already feel the air growing stale. He's going to kill everyone at the party, Maya said. A gas explosion would take out the entire wing. No, Dante pulled out his phone. No signal. The vault was blocking everything. He moved to the servers, his fingers flying across keyboards. There has to be an emergency override. Away to Maya grabbed his shoulder. Stop, we don't have time to look at me. She turned him to face her. His eyes were wild with panic, with the same helpless terror he must have felt watching his father die. We are not going to panic. We are going to think. What are we standing in right now? He blinked, understanding slowly beginning to dawn. The blackmail archive, your mother's leverage over every powerful person in this city. Every dirty secret, every crime, every hidden weakness. Maya moved to the filing cabinets. If this explodes, all of it is gone. She loses her power, but Edmund said Edmund lied. He's not going to blow up the vault. He's going to blow up the party, frame us for attempted theft, and take all this information for himself. Maya pulled drawers open, scanning contents quickly. Which means the emergency eggs. It is still active. We just have to find it. They worked together, searching frantically. Every vault had a failsafe. Even someone this powerful wouldn't trap herself in her own archive. Behind a panel labeled fire suppression, they found it. A manual override that would unlock the door from inside. Dante pulled the lever. The vault door hissed open. They ran. The explosion came as they reached the main corridor. Not in the vault, in the ballroom, exactly as Maya had predicted. The sound was massive, concussive, followed immediately by screaming. They burst back into the estate's public areas to find complete chaos. Flames climbing one wall. Guests stumbling toward exits, some injured, all terrified. Security trying to contain the damage. And standing near the main entrance, watching the chaos with cold satisfaction, was Edmund Thorne. Maya didn't think, didn't calculate, didn't plan, she just moved. She crossed the room in seconds, her body remembering every hour of training, every fight, every moment of rage she had been carrying since Darius died. Edmund turned toward her, surprise flashing across his face. Too late. Maya's first punch broke his nose. Her second drove into his midsection, doubling him over. The third was an uppercut that sent him sprawling backward onto the marble floor. You killed him, she said, her voice barely sounding human anymore. You killed my brother, and you framed him. And you made me think. She couldn't finish. The words were choked by a fury too large for language. Edmund spit blood, trying to get up. He was weak, just like Dante is weak, just like Maya kicked him in the ribs. Heard something crack, didn't care. Maya, Dante's voice cut through her rage. Maya, stop, we need him alive. Why? She turned on him, tears streaming down her face. Why should he live when Darius didn't? When he was going to murder you? Because my mother needs to see what he's done. Because we need his testimony to expose everyone he was working with. Dante moved to her side, his hand gentle on her shoulder. Because killing him quickly would be mercy. And he doesn't deserve mercy. Maya looked down at Edmund. He was barely conscious, his expensive suit ruined, his carefully constructed image completely destroyed. She thought of Darius, of how he had died alone and afraid, betrayed by the very people he had tried to help make things right with. You're right, she said softly. Death would be mercy. She stepped back, letting the security team surround Edmund. They hauled him to his feet roughly. Around them the fire was being controlled. The boss emerged from the smoke, her expression furious as she surveyed the destruction. When her eyes found Dante and Maya, they narrowed with understanding. Explain, she demanded. Dante handed her the files they had retrieved from the vault. His father's documents, the blackmail material, and most damning of all, Edmund's communications, his orders, his complete and total betrayal. She read in silence. When she finished, she looked at Edmund with an expression that made Maya's blood run cold. This wasn't anger. This was cold calculation. You tried to steal from me, she said quietly. Not money. Not goods, something worth more. Information, control, power. She stepped closer to Edmund. And you used my son's pain to do it. He is weak, Edmund spat. He cares too much, feels too much. He's not fit to. She slapped him hard. The sound echoed through the damaged ballroom. My son is exactly what I made him, she said. Ruthless when necessary, controlled when useful, and loyal. Painfully, stubbornly loyal to me. She glanced at Dante. Though perhaps I owe you an apology for testing that loyalty so harshly. Dante stared at his mother. You're releasing me, don't be dramatic. I'm acknowledging that my methods may have been counterproductive. The blackmail is yours. Do with it what you need to. She turned her attention back to Edmund. As for you, you've betrayed this family. There's only one outcome for that. She didn't need to explain further. Everyone in that room already knew exactly what she meant. Maya watched as they took Edmund away. She should have felt satisfaction, victory, justice. Instead, she felt empty. Darius was still gone. Knowing who killed him didn't change that. Watching his murderer face consequences didn't bring her brother back. Dante's hand found hers and squeezed gently. Let's go home, he said quietly. Maya nodded, unable to speak. They left the estate as the sun began to rise, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. The city stretching out below them, beautiful and brutal, and completely indifferent to the darkness they had just survived. In the car, Dante held her while she finally broke down. Sobs racking her body, grief and rage and exhaustion pouring out in waves. I'm sorry, she gasped. I'm sorry. I should be stronger. You're the strongest person I have ever met, he said fiercely. But even the strong need to break sometimes. I've got you. I'm not letting go. Maya held on to him. This man who was supposed to be her enemy, who had become something infinitely more complicated than that. They had survived the night, destroyed the blackmail, exposed the traitor, but the cost had been pieces of themselves they were never going to get back. And as the city woke up around them, Maya realized something that felt both terrifying and clarifying. She didn't just want revenge anymore. She wanted the throne. She wanted power enough that no one could ever hurt her again. The kind of ruthless authority that came from standing at the top of everything. And Dante, reading her expression in the quiet morning light, smiled like he had been waiting for her to reach exactly that conclusion all along. 3 weeks ago, you were serving drinks, he said softly. Now you're sitting beside me, ready to claim what's ours. Do you know what that makes you? Maya met his gaze. Tell me. His smile widened. Dark and certain and beautiful. A queen, he said, the queen of the Shadow Clan. And in that moment, watching the sun rise over a city that had taken everything from her, Maya Carter made her choice. She wasn't going to destroy the Shadow Clan from within. She was going to rule it. The penthouse had become their war room. Maps covering the dining table, surveillance photos lining the walls. For 2 weeks, Maya and Dante had taken apart every transaction, every name, every thread in the organization's web. And now, finally, Maya had found the spider. She stood at the window as dawn broke, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Behind her, Dante slept, one of the rare times she had seen him truly rest. The man who had seemed untouchable that first night now curled toward her side of the bed, seeking her warmth even in sleep. It terrified her how much she cared. The file lay open on her lap, Edmund's communications carefully hidden in encrypted folders, transaction records showing payments to prison guards, an order, clinical and cold, for the elimination of Darius Carter. Her hands shook as she read his justification. Subject is cooperating with federal investigation. Possesses detailed knowledge of financial structures. Termination necessary to preserve operational security. Darius hadn't been dirty. He had been trying to fix his mistake. And Edmund had murdered him for it. You found something. Dante's voice was rough with sleep. He had woken silently, the way predators do. Maya didn't turn. Your trusted advisor killed my brother. The words hung in the still air. She heard him rise, felt the bed shift, then his presence behind her. His hands settled on her shoulders, warm and grounding. Show me. She handed him the file, watched his reflection in the window as he read, saw his expression harden into something lethal. He's been with me for 5 years, Dante said quietly. Helped me rebuild after my father died. I trusted him with everything. He used that trust. Maya finally turned to face him, the morning light catching the sharp lines of his face. He's been feeding information to your mother all along. Every move you made, every weakness you showed. She knew because of him. Dante's jaw tightened. Then we use him the same way, feed him false information about our plans. Let him think he's still trusted. And when the moment comes, his smile was cold as winter. I'll let you have him. Your brother, your vengeance. Maya stood, closing the distance between them. She pressed her palm to his chest, feeling his heartbeat beneath her hand. Steady and strong. After we deal with your mother, that comes first. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She met his gaze. Because if we don't free you from her control, we'll never truly be safe. She'll always have that power. Always have the ability to destroy you, to destroy us. He corrected softly. His hand covered hers. You're part of this now. Part of me. The weight of those words settled over Maya like something permanent. She should have been afraid. Binding herself to a man like Dante meant accepting the darkness that came attached to him. But staring into his eyes and seeing the raw need there, she felt only certainty. Then we burn her world down, Maya said together. The next 2 weeks were a performance worthy of a standing ovation. Maya and Dante played their parts perfectly. They fed Edmund carefully crafted lies. Made him believe they planned to confront the boss at her annual charity gathering, a public event where she'd be surrounded by witnesses and security. They showed him fake blueprints, discussed fictional escape routes, let him believe he knew every detail. Meanwhile, their real plan took shape in whispers and quiet moments between them. The boss's true vulnerability wasn't at public events. It was at her private estate in Pacific Palisades, where she kept her most precious assets, the blackmail archive, the financial records, the proof of every crime and betrayal she had built her empire on over 30 years. She goes there every Sunday, Dante explained, spreading reconnaissance photographs across the table. Alone, except for 2 guards, she reviews her files, makes her plans. It's the only time she's genuinely vulnerable. Maya studied the images. The estate was beautiful. Rolling grounds, classical architecture, gardens that belonged in lifestyle magazines. It looked nothing like a fortress. That was the entire point. Security cameras on the perimeter, motion sensors in the gardens. The guards are competent, but not paranoid. They're protecting a woman in her own home, not expecting an organized assault. Dante's finger traced the building's layout. The vault is here in the east wing. Biometric lock requiring her palm print and a rotating code. Which you have, his smile was grim, which I memorized years ago, watching over her shoulder. She never knew I was already preparing for this day. Maya leaned closer, studying the approach angles. Her arm brushed his, and even that small accidental contact sent electricity through her. 2 weeks of closeness had only made the pull between them stronger. Every glance felt weighted. Every touch felt deliberate. We go in Saturday night, she said, late when she's asleep. We have maybe an hour before the guards do their rounds. And if something goes wrong, Maya met his gaze. Then we do what we did that first night. We figure it out. Dante's hand found hers, fingers intertwining. I won't let her hurt you. I won't let her hurt you either. Maya squeezed his hand. That's the deal, remember. We protect each other. The moment stretched between them, intimate despite the war they were actively planning. Then Dante pulled her close, his lips finding hers in a kiss that tasted of desperation and absolute determination. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. After this is over, he said quietly. After we're free, what do you want? Maya closed her eyes. What did she want? Justice for Darius was still there, a burning coal in her chest. But now there was something more, something darker and more her own. The truth, she whispered, I want power. Real power, the kind that means no one can ever hurt us again. The kind that makes people afraid to even think about crossing us. She expected judgment, or at the very least hesitation. Instead, Dante smiled against her lips. Then that's exactly what we'll build, he promised. A kingdom of shadows, and you'll be its queen. Saturday night arrived wrapped in fog. Maya dressed in black tactical clothes, her hair pulled back tight, weapons hidden beneath. In the mirror, she looked like exactly what she had become, a predator in human skin. Dante appeared behind her, also dressed for battle. He pressed something cold into her palm, a knife, the blade etched with careful markings. "It was my father's," he said. He carried it through years of hardship and never once used it in anger. He gave it to me before he died and told me to only draw it for something worth risking everything for. Maya turned the weapon over, feeling the weight of history in the steel. "I can't take this, you already have." His hands settled on her shoulders. "You're walking into danger for me, that makes it yours." Their eyes met in the mirror. Maya saw the complete trust there, the absolute faith that she wouldn't fail him. It should have felt like pressure. Instead, it felt like strength. She tucked the knife carefully into her boot. They drove to Pacific Palisades in silence. The city lights giving way to the manicured darkness of serious wealth. The estate sat behind walls designed to look decorative but built to stop almost anything. Dante killed the engine 2 blocks away. Security shift changes at 11. We have a 30-minute window when the new guards are still settling in. Maya checked her watch. 10:55. Let's move. They approached through the gardens, staying low, avoiding the camera lines Dante had memorized. The fog helped, turning everything into gray shapes and muffled sounds. Maya's heart was hammering, but her hands were completely steady. This was it, the moment everything changed. The east wing entrance was locked but not alarmed. Dante picked it with practiced ease, and they slipped inside. The interior was exactly as cold as Maya had imagined it would be. Marble floors, dark wood, art worth more than most people would ever see in their entire lives. Beautiful in the way that cold, preserved things are beautiful. They moved through corridors lit only by emergency lighting, their footsteps silent on expensive rugs. The vault door appeared exactly where the blueprints had promised. Reinforced steel disguised as decorative paneling. Dante placed his palm on the scanner, entered the code. The lock disengaged with a whisper. Inside was a monument to manipulation. Filing cabinets stretched from floor to ceiling, each labeled with names Maya recognized from news reports and wanted lists. The blackmail that had built an empire, carefully organized, carefully preserved, and there in a climate. Controlled case, the medical records. Photographs of Dante with his dying father. The documents with his signature, the death certificate. Maya watched his face as he stared at the evidence that had controlled his entire life. Saw the pain there, as fresh as the day it happened. "Burn it," she said softly, "burn all of it." Dante reached for the case, then froze. Wait. He moved to a different cabinet, pulling files rapidly. His expression shifted from focused to horrified. "These aren't just blackmail records," he said. "These are payment logs. Money to judges, politicians, investigators." He looked up, his face pale. "Maya, your brother's case." The prosecutor who denied his cooperation deal was on her payroll. The judge who set his bail too high. The guards who looked away when he was attacked. She coordinated all of it. Maya's vision narrowed. Why, Darius was nobody. Why would she personally care? Because Edmund told her to. Dante held up another file. He convinced her that investigators were using your brother as bait, that eliminating him would send a message to anyone else thinking about cooperating. She signed off on it, but Edmund handled every detail. The pieces snapped into place with horrible clarity. Edmund hadn't just killed Darius. He had manipulated the boss into authorizing it, used her infrastructure, made her complicit. "He played you both," Maya said. "Made you think you were enemies when you were just his tools. And now he's outside waiting for us to finish." Dante moved to the vault entrance, listening carefully. "I can hear voices, more than the usual guard count." Maya joined him. Through the crack in the door, she could see shapes moving in the corridor. Not guards in uniform, men in tactical gear. A trap. "He knew we'd come here," Maya said. "He let us think we were so clever, mapping her schedule, finding her weakness. But he was guiding us the whole time." Dante's expression hardened into something murderous. "Then we give him what he expects. Let him think he's already won. and then his smile was terrifying. Then we show him what happens when you betray people who have learned to fight back. They emerged from the vault with hands raised, files tucked under their arms. The tactical team surrounded them immediately. 6 men with enough weapons to start a serious conflict. And standing at the end of the corridor, wearing a tailored suit and an expression of deep regret, was Edmund Thorne. "I'm sorry it came to this," he said, his voice carrying that same gentle disappointment he had always used for minor frustrations. "I truly hoped you'd see reason. My role as your tool," Dante's voice was cold, "as the future of this organization. As the face it needs to move forward." Edmund stepped closer, flanked by his men. "Your mother built something remarkable through fear and pressure. But the world is changing. We need respectability now. And you," he paused. "You're too damaged, too sentimental to provide that. So you killed an innocent man to protect your vision." Maya's voice cracked like a whip. "You murdered my brother because he threatened your precious plans." Edmund finally looked at her directly, and Maya saw something she hadn't noticed before: contempt. He had always seen her as a temporary distraction. A weakness Dante would eventually outgrow. "Your brother was an unfortunate necessity," Edmund said, "nothing personal." Maya laughed, the sound sharp and broken. "Nothing personal. You destroyed my family, and you call it nothing personal." "I did what the organization required, just as I'm doing now." Edmund gestured to his men. "Take them somewhere quiet. Make it fast, make sure nothing is ever found." The team moved forward, Maya tensed, calculating distances, weighing every possible outcome. 6 armed men against 2 people who had arrived expecting a simple vault job. Then Dante smiled. It was the most dangerous thing Maya had ever seen from him. "You made one mistake, Edmund," he said softly. "You assumed. I came here without any backup plan." He pressed something on his watch. The lights died. Emergency power failed. Even the exit signs went dark, plunging the entire corridor into absolute blackness. And in that darkness, Dante whispered one word: "Run." Maya didn't hesitate, didn't question. She ran, her hand finding his in the dark, trusting him completely as gunfire erupted behind them. Muzzle flashes lit the corridor in strobe bursts, but they were already gone, moving through spaces Dante knew by heart. They burst into the gardens as lights began flickering desperately back to life. Behind them, shouting and chaos. Ahead, the perimeter wall, this way. Dante pulled her toward what looked like solid hedge, but when they pushed through, Maya found a service gate. Carefully concealed, an escape route he had prepared years ago, waiting for the day he would finally need it. They emerged onto a side street, where a car sat waiting with the engine already running. Not one of Dante's usual vehicles. This one was anonymous, ordinary, perfect for disappearing into a city. Maya collapsed into the passenger seat, her heart trying to break free of her ribs. "What just happened?" "I had a trusted contact cut the power grid remotely," Dante said, pulling smoothly into traffic. "Edmund thinks he knows all my resources, but there are some loyalties he never suspected. People who remember what this organization was supposed to be and hate what it's become. He's going to come after us, yes. We can't go back to the penthouse. Can't use any of your normal locations." "Yes," Maya looked at him, his profile sharp in the passing streetlights, beautiful and certain. "So what do we do?" Dante's hand found hers, squeezing once. "We do what you decided from the beginning. We stop running from the darkness. And we make sure everyone who hurt us has nothing left." His words should have frightened her. Instead, they lit something fierce and determined in Maya's chest. She had come to this city seeking justice, but justice was a story people told themselves to get through the night. What she wanted now was real power, the kind that meant no one could ever hurt them again. "Then we start with Edmund," she said. "Let's show him what happens when you push people who have nothing left to lose." Dante's smile was savage and beautiful. "That's my queen." And as they drove into the city's glittering darkness together, Maya realized something that should have terrified her. She didn't want to be saved anymore. She wanted to reign. The safe house was a warehouse in an industrial area where questions were never asked. And security, cameras had a mysterious habit of not working properly. Stone was waiting when they arrived. along with 3 other men Maya recognized from the Golden Pearl. People who had bet on her that first night, now betting their lives on this. Edmund has moved fast, Stone reported, his voice clear and steady. He's calling emergency meetings with all the regional leaders, saying you've turned rogue, stolen from the family. He's offering rewards for information on where you are. What about his mother? Dante asked. He had removed his tactical gear, but the dangerous energy remained wrapped around him. No one's seen her since last night. Her estate is completely locked down. Stone's expression was grim. If Edmund got to her first, he didn't kill her, Meyer interrupted. All eyes turned to her. He needs her alive. She's his connection to 30 years of built power. Without her blessing, half the organization won't follow him no matter what he promises. Dante nodded slowly. So he's holding her somewhere, using her presence as legitimacy while he locks in support. Which means we have a window, Maya said, before he secures enough loyalty to come after us properly. What kind of window? Stone asked. Maya met Dante's gaze, saw the same ruthless calculation in him that she felt burning in her own chest. 48 hours, 2 days to gather our own people, move before he expects it, and take back what's ours. Ours, one of the other men, a lean enforcer named Leo, spoke up. No disrespect, but you've been with us for weeks. This is his family's empire, not she bleeds for it now. Dante cut him off, his voice sharp. She's fought for it, risked everything for it. That makes her as much a part of this as anyone in this room. More than most, he turned to Maya. If you want to walk away now, I would understand. This isn't your original fight. Darius's killer is Edmund, and we know exactly where to find him. You could take that and go. No. Maya's voice was flat and completely final. I'm not walking away, not from this, not from you. The warehouse went completely silent. Maya felt the weight of every gaze measuring her, deciding about her. She had stepped into this world as an outsider, an infiltrator, but standing there in clothing still carrying traces of everything they had just survived. She realized she had become something entirely different. A believer, a partner, a queen in the making. Then we move quickly, Dante said, accepting her decision without another word. Stone, contact everyone on the list we prepared. Tell them the truth. Edmund is a traitor. My mother is being held against her will. And I'm claiming what belongs to my family by right. Anyone who stands with me will be protected and rewarded. Anyone who stands against me, he paused, will face the consequences. That's going to start a real fight, Leo said quietly. We're already in one. I'm just making the terms clear. Dante's gaze swept the room. I know what I'm asking. You've all served this family for years. Some of you remember my father. You've watched me become what my mother needed me to be. Controlled, ruthless without visible feeling. And now I'm asking you to follow me into something that might cost everything. He paused, and for the first time since Maya had met him, she saw the real vulnerability beneath the armor. This man who had always commanded through earned fear and hard respect was asking, genuinely asking, offering them an actual choice, but I promise you this, if we win when we win. His jaw was tight with emotion he couldn't quite contain. Things will change, an empire that is honest in what it is. That doesn't pretend to be something softer to those who already know better. Stone stepped forward first, dropped to one knee in a gesture so formally solemn it made Maya's breath catch. I follow you, one by one, the others followed. Leo, the 2 younger men whose names Maya was still learning, all of them bowing before their chosen leader. Dante's expression tightened with emotion. He was fighting hard to keep controlled. Get up, all of you. We don't have time for ceremony. Then make time. Maya stepped beside him, her hand finding his. They're pledging their lives to you, to us. That deserves to be acknowledged properly. He looked at her, and something shifted in his expression. Gratitude, maybe, or the recognition that she understood this world in ways he hadn't expected from her. Thank you, Dante said simply to the room, for your trust, for your loyalty. I won't forget it. The men rose, purpose radiating from every one of them. Stone began organizing immediately. The warehouse transformed into a proper war room. Maya found herself pulled into a quiet corner by Dante, away from the organized activity. His hands framed her face, his thumbs brushing her cheekbones with heartbreaking gentleness. "You should hate me," he said quietly. "Everything that's happened to you, your brother, this war, the danger you're in, it all connects back to my family. To me, you should run as fast and far as you possibly can." Maya covered his hands with hers. "I should. But I won't." Why? She had asked herself that question 1,000 times since that first night at the Golden Pearl. Why had she stayed? Why had she allowed herself to care so deeply about a man who embodied everything she should despise? The answer was both very simple and impossibly complex. "Because I see you," Maya said, "not the mask you wear. Not the thing your mother built. I see the man who held his father's hand while he was dying, who kneels down to tend someone else's wounds, who is capable of tenderness and brutality in equal measure." She stepped closer until there was almost no space between them. "Your darkness doesn't scare me, because I have my own, and I would rather burn beside you than freeze alone somewhere safe." He kissed her then, not gently, not carefully, but with the desperation of someone who had just been offered something they had stopped believing they deserved. Maya responded with everything she had, her fingers tangling in his hair, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "After this is over, after we've won, I want to make this permanent." "Permanent how? Marry me." The words were soft but absolute. "Not because I need you, though I do more than I know how to explain. Not because it's strategic, though it would be. Marry me because I cannot imagine building this life with anyone else. Because you are the only person who has ever looked at my darkness and not flinched or run." Maya's heart stuttered. She had dreamed of love once, before everything fell apart. This was nothing like those old dreams. This was a vow wrapped in blood and shadow, a promise forged in violence and sealed with desperate need. "It was perfect, yes," she whispered, "but not until Edmund is gone, not until we've won. I want to stand beside you as a queen, not as someone still running." Dante's smile was devastating. "Then let's give you your throne." They spent the next 2 days gathering their people. Dante reached out to men who had served his father before everything changed, to leaders who had quietly resented the way things had been run. Maya worked alongside him, her presence at his side, a statement of unity that couldn't be misread. By the morning of the 3rd day, they had more than 20 confirmed loyalists, and twice that number watching carefully to see which way things were going to fall. "It's enough," Maya said, studying their makeshift map. "Edmund won't expect us to move this soon. He's still consolidating, still believing he has plenty of time. The gathering he's hosting is tonight," Dante added. "He's doing it at the penthouse, making a very public statement about who owns what now." Maya felt cold fury settle clear and sharp in her chest. "Then we take it back, publicly, in front of everyone he's trying to impress." "It'll be dangerous. He'll have security everywhere." "Good." Maya's smile was sharp. "Let him feel completely safe. Let him believe he's already won, and then we'll show him what real power actually looks like." They moved through the day with focused intensity, coordinating their people, planning their approaches, identifying every target. Stone would lead the main team. Leo would secure exits. The younger men would handle crowd movement, and Maya and Dante would walk through the front door like they owned the place. Because they did, night fell, Maya dressed in midnight blue silk, not tactical gear this time, armor of a different kind. The dress moved with her like water. She left her hair down, wild and free. Dante appeared in a black suit that transformed him from dangerous man to something even more formidable. A leader reclaiming what had always been his. His eyes traveled over her slowly when he saw her. "You look like vengeance dressed in silk." "Good." Maya slid a knife into a hidden holster beneath the dress. "Because that's exactly what I am." They arrived at the building to find guests still entering. People who had been drawn by the promise of witnessing something historic. The elevator ride up was completely silent. Maya felt her heart hammering, but her hands were steady. This was the moment. The penthouse doors opened onto a transformed space. What had been their intimate home was now packed with people. Politicians, crime figures, wealthy people who made it their business not to ask too many questions. Champagne everywhere, music playing, and at the center of it all, Edmund Thorne playing host with practiced charm. He didn't see them at first, too busy accepting congratulations, telling careful stories about where Dante had gone, managing everyone's perception. Maya watched him work the room and felt her rage burn clean and cold. This man had killed Darius, had betrayed Dante, had tried to steal an empire through lies and murder. Tonight, he would answer for every single one of those choices. Ready? Dante's voice was low beside her. Maya took his hand and squeezed once. Let's remind him whose house this is. They stepped into the crowd. The reaction was immediate. Conversations dying mid-sentence, glasses stopping halfway to mouths. Every eye in the room locking onto them with varying degrees of shock, fear, and quick calculation. And Edmund went absolutely still. Dante moved through the crowd with Meyer at his side, their presence parting people like a blade moving through silk. No one spoke. No one moved to stop them. They simply watched as the man who was supposed to be gone walked back into his own home and stood before the person who had tried to take it. Edmund? Dante's voice was completely casual. Lovely party. I don't recall receiving an invitation. Edmund recovered quickly. Maya had to give him credit for the speed of it. His expression smoothed into something resembling relief. Dante, thank God, we've been so worried. Your mother has been don't. The single word landed like a gunshot. Don't insult either of us by pretending you care. Where is she? Edmund's eyes moved quickly across the room, assessing. His security team was positioned throughout. Maya counted 6, maybe 7 men trying to blend in as regular guests. Not enough to control what was about to happen, not nearly enough to stop it. Your mother is being looked after, Edmund said carefully. Resting at a secure location while we manage the situation you created. My situation? Dante smiled, and it was terrifying. Is that what we're calling attempted murder now? The room gasped. Phones appeared. Cameras activating. This was exactly the kind of moment that didn't stay private for long. You're not well, Edmund continued, his voice taking on the careful, soothing quality that had always made Maya want to hit him. The stress of recent months, everything that's happened. We can get you proper help. We can. Where is my mother? Dante's control was beginning to crack, rage bleeding visibly through. Last chance to answer willingly. Edmund's expression hardened. He had realized this wasn't going to end the way he had planned. You want the truth. She's exactly where she needs to be, safe while people who actually understand this business properly take the wheel. She built something extraordinary through pressure and leverage, but that approach has limits now. We need something different. Something neither of you can provide. Something you can. Maya's voice cut through the tension. You, who murdered an innocent man to cover yourself, who betrayed everyone who trusted you, that's your foundation for respectability. Edmund finally looked at her directly, and Maya saw it clearly now. The contempt he had always managed to keep just below the surface. Your brother was a liability. You're a distraction, and this, he gestured at the two of them, is a performance that changes absolutely nothing. You've already lost, this is mine now. All you're doing is making the end messier than it has to be. Maya felt Dante tense beside her, the violence coiling in him like a spring about to release. But before either of them could move, Edmund made his fatal mistake. He gestured to his team, the men reached for their weapons. The crowd scattered instantly, self-preservation overwhelming curiosity. Expensive furniture going sideways in the rush, champagne glasses shattering, and then Stone and his team came through the service entrance. What followed was chaos, gunfire cracking through the penthouse, guards going down fast under coordinated strikes. former guests screaming toward exits, trampling everything in their way. Maya moved on pure instinct, her body remembering every single fight that had brought her to this moment. A guard swung at her. She ducked, drove her knife up under his guard. He dropped. She was already moving, her silk dress flowing around her like water, beautiful and absolutely deadly. Dante fought at her side, and together they were something extraordinary. Where he was surgical precision, she was raw, focused fury. They moved in perfect synchronization, covering each other's weaknesses, multiplying each other's strengths. Through all of it, Edmund was working his way toward the private elevator, his escape route. Maya saw him moving through the chaos and felt something inside her snap clean in half. "He's mine," she said. Dante glanced back, understood immediately. Go. Maya ran, her shoes abandoned, bare feet finding purchase on floors slicked with spilled drinks and broken glass. Edmund had reached the elevator and was slamming his palm against the call button with increasing desperation. She caught him 3 feet from his escape. Maya spun him around and drove her fist into his perfect face. Felt something crack, blood sprayed. Edmund stumbled backward, shock and pain written across his expression. "You killed my brother," she said, moving toward him. "You framed him. You had him murdered, and you call it necessary." Edmund tried to run. Maya took his legs out from under him. He went down hard, his expensive suit tearing on broken glass. "Please," he gasped. "Maya, please, I can explain. I can explain." She laughed, and the sound was broken and sharp. "Explain how murdering someone trying to do the right thing was just business. How betraying everyone who trusted you was just strategy. There is nothing you can say." She pulled him up by his collar and put him against the wall beside the elevator. The penthouse had gone quiet around them, the fighting over, Stone's team victorious, everyone watching now as she claimed what she had come here for. "Where is she?" Maya demanded. Edmund spit blood. "Where is his mother?" Maya's knee found his midsection. He doubled over with a sound that had no dignity left in it. "Where at the estate?" he finally choked out. "The actual wine cellar, not the vault. She's locked in there. She's alive, I promise." Maya looked at Dante. He nodded once. "Thank you," Maya said quietly to Edmund. Then she drove her knife into his shoulder, pinning him to the wall. He screamed, "That's for Darius, for making him die alone, for stealing his chance to make things right." She stepped back, watching him struggle, blood spreading across the expensive wallpaper. "Finish him." Dante moved beside her quietly, offering his weapon. Maya took it, felt the weight of it. One pull and everything Edmund had done would be answered. She raised it. Edmund stared at her, pain and fear, and the full understanding of what was coming in his eyes. He knew. "Do it," he whispered. "Just get it over with." Maya's finger tightened on the trigger, then she lowered the gun. "No," she said it clearly. "Death is mercy. You don't deserve mercy." She turned to Stone. "Take him somewhere and keep him alive. I want him to watch everything he tried to steal get built into something he could never have imagined. I want him to see us reign, and then, only then, will we let him go." Stone smiled slowly with complete understanding. Yes, as they dragged Edmund away, his sounds of protest echoing through the penthouse, Maya felt Dante behind her. His arms came around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. That was either brilliant or terrifying, he murmured against her hair. Maybe both. Maya leaned into him, suddenly exhausted all the way down to her bones. "Is it over?" "Not yet. We still need to find my mother, free her, and then," his arms tightened, "or decide what the right move is." Maya turned in his hold, understanding the weight of what he wasn't saying directly. His mother alive was a complicated threat. Someone who had controlled him for years, who had decades of connections and reach, who might never forgive what had happened. But his mother dead made them something unforgivable. "We free her," Maya said firmly. "We free her, and then we sit down together. She can keep her title, her standing, her wealth, but the operational control passes to us, to you. You think she'll accept that? I think she's always been a practical person, and practical people understand when something is already decided." Maya pressed her palm to his chest. Besides, freeing her after everything makes you look like something rare in this world. Someone with mercy, even toward people who haven't earned it. Dante stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed, genuine and warm. You are terrifying, you know that. I learned from watching the best. She kissed him softly. Now let's go get your mother and finish claiming our throne. They found her exactly where Edmund had said. Locked in the wine cellar beneath the estate, surrounded by bottles worth millions, completely alone. She looked smaller than Maya remembered, her elegant clothes rumpled, her perfect appearance for once undone. But her eyes still burned with the same cold intelligence that had built everything around them. When Dante opened the door, she simply looked at him. No visible relief, no visible gratitude, just pure assessment. So she said, her voice rough, you came. Did you think I wouldn't? She considered him. Even after everything, Dante replied without hesitation. Especially after everything. They looked at each other for a long moment, mother and son. Two predators who had shaped each other in ways neither could fully name. Finally, she switched to English. A deliberate choice, an acknowledgement of Maya's presence. You've made quite the mess, she said, her gaze finally moving to take in Maya completely. My organization in pieces, my most trusted person revealed as a traitor, and you've brought an outsider into the center of all of it. Your father would have disapproved. My father would have understood, Dante said quietly. He loved you. But he also saw what you were becoming, what you pushed me to become. I made you capable of surviving in this world. You made me into a weapon. That's different. Silence settled between them. Maya felt the weight of years of pain, manipulation, and complicated love hanging in the air of that wine cellar. I'm taking operational control, Dante said finally, of everything. You keep your title, your standing, your wealth. But the decisions, the direction, that belongs to me now. The older woman's laugh was low and bitter. And if I refuse, then I take it regardless. But I would rather do this with your acknowledgement, with some respect for what you built. He stepped closer. I'm not trying to erase your legacy. I'm trying to build on it, to create something that doesn't require constant fear to hold together. Idealistic, she said, but there was something almost fond beneath the word. You sound exactly like your father. Good, he was better than either of us, and we both know it. Her gaze moved to Maya, studied her with the kind of attention that felt like being taken completely apart. And you, the fighter, the outsider, you believe you can navigate this world. Maya met her eyes without moving. I've already been surviving it. I'm not asking for navigation tips. I'm telling you that I'm standing beside your son as his partner in everything. Whether you accept that is your choice, but it's already decided. Something that might have been the beginning of respect moved across the older woman's face. Bold, she said, reckless but bold. She looked back at Dante. You're serious about her. Her name is Maya, and I'm marrying her. His voice was completely steady. That is not something I'm willing to discuss. A long silence, then she exhaled, the sound carrying decades of weariness beneath it. Very well, I accept your terms. You lead, I step back, and your Maya stands beside you. Relief moved through Maya, but she kept her face composed. This wasn't finished yet, just the first piece of it. But understand, the older woman continued, her voice sharpening again. If you fail, if the softness you carry weakens what took me 30 years to build, I will take it back. I will undo everything, including her. Are we completely clear? Crystal, Dante said. They left her there in the wine cellar. Not imprisoned, but not fully free either. A space between old power and new. In the car heading back toward the city, Maya finally allowed herself to feel the full size of what they had just accomplished. We did it, she said quietly. We actually did it. Dante's hand found hers. You did it. You gave me the belief that I deserved to want more than what she made me. We gave each other that, Maya said. That's what partnership means. They drove in comfortable silence for a while, watching the city lights growing closer and brighter. Then Dante pulled over at a quiet spot above the city, the kind of place where you could see everything spread out below you. He turned to face her, his expression completely serious. I meant every word of what I said about marrying you. About everything, I know. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a small box, but I need you to understand what saying yes really means. This isn't a romantic gesture, Maya. This is a binding. It makes us one thing in every way that matters. Business, history, life. If you take this ring, you're taking everything attached to me. The danger, the darkness, the violence. There's no halfway. No keeping one foot in another world. Maya took the box. Opened it. The ring inside took her breath away. A black diamond surrounded by deep red stones. Beautiful and dangerous. Exactly like the man offering it to her. I don't want halfway, she said. I don't want to keep one foot somewhere safer. I want the darkness, Dante. I want to build something real and terrifying beside you. His smile was everything she had never known she needed. Then wear my ring, rule this empire beside me, become the queen of the Shadow Clan. Maya slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. He had been paying that close attention all along. The moment the ring settled into place, something shifted. Not just between them, inside her, she felt the weight of it, the responsibility, the power, the dangerous certainty of finally belonging somewhere completely. Dante pulled her into his arms, and Maya went to him without hesitation. Their lips finding each other in a kiss that tasted of victory and promises too dark for ordinary daylight. When they finally broke apart, breathing hard, his forehead rested against hers. I love you, he said simply. I don't know the exact moment it happened, but somewhere between you spilling that drink on me and you standing over Edmund with nothing left to lose, I fell completely in love with you. Tears burned at Maya's eyes. She had stopped believing in love after Darius died, convinced herself she didn't deserve it, didn't need it. But hearing those words from his mouth, she understood she had been lying to herself. I love you too, she whispered. My dangerous man, my king. They kissed again, softer this time, sealing everything with something that felt almost tender. 6 months later, Maya stood in the penthouse and barely recognized her life. The space had been renovated after the battle, but they had kept the essential darkness, the elegance wrapped in threat, because it was theirs. Now it was truly their throne room. She wore a black silk robe, her hair loose, wild curls framing her face. The ring on her finger caught the city lights. The woman called Maya Carter had walked into the Golden Pearl, carrying a tray of drinks and carrying a brother's memory like an open wound. She had taken Dante's name, his world, his darkness, and she had given him her absolute loyalty, her strategic mind, her capacity for exactly the kind of love that survives fire. Together they were building something magnificent and terrifying. The door opened. Dante entered, shedding his jacket, loosening his tie. He looked tired. They had been consolidating everything, rebuilding the organization structure, removing the last remaining loyalists who had chosen the wrong side. The work was brutal and endless. But when his eyes found Maya, his expression softened into something close to peace. How did it go? Better than expected. The regional leaders have formally acknowledged our authority. No more challenges, no more tests. He crossed to the bar, poured 2 glasses. We've won. Maya accepted her glass. Actually won. She took a sip. What about Edmund? Dante's expression hardened, still breathing, still suffering. Stone says he's completely broken, asking for it to end every single day. Good. Maya felt no pity, only the cold satisfaction that Darius's killer was experiencing a fraction of what he had caused. When do you want to give him his ending? Maya considered. She had promised herself she wouldn't let Edmund's story end until she had built something he could never touch. Until she stood in power so secure that his betrayal was just a small, ugly footnote in a much larger story. Soon, she said, maybe next week. Let him see us happy one more time. Let him fully understand how completely he failed. Dante moved behind her, his arms circling her waist, his lips finding the curve of her neck. Have I told you today that you are extraordinary? Not in the last hour. Then I've been failing at my responsibilities. His hands moved beneath her robe. You are extraordinary, terrifying, the most dangerous person in this city, and you're mine." Maya turned in his arms, her hands framing his face. "Just as you're mine," they kissed slowly and deeply. The kind of kiss that spoke of total trust and complete possession. Maya's robe slipped from her shoulders. They had come together countless times in the months since everything changed. But this felt different. This felt like the final ceiling of everything they had built together. He carried her to their bedroom. The space dark and intimate, lit only by the city beyond the glass. "I want you to know something," he said, his voice low and rough with feeling. "Everything I am, everything I've built, everything I'll ever become, it's yours completely, for as long as there is a me." Maya's throat tightened, "And everything I am is yours, my darkness, my fury, my love, all of it, until there is nothing left of either of us." They came together then, two people who had found each other in the dark, and decided to make the dark their home. Afterward, they lay tangled together, breathing slowly, returning to normal. Dante's fingers tracing idle patterns on her shoulder. Maya listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked quietly, "choosing this path? Becoming what you've become?" Maya sat with the question honestly. She thought of Darius, of the girl she had been before his death, of the dreams she had walked away from. "No," she said finally, "I regret that any of it was necessary. I regret the pain that built the path here, but I don't regret the choice, this life, this power, you. It's mine, I claimed it, built it, and I will defend it with everything I have, even if it costs everything." She lifted her head to meet his gaze. "I don't believe in trading away pieces of yourself for safety anymore. I believe in building something strong enough that safety isn't a question. I believe in us." Dante's smile was soft and devastating. "Then we're exactly right for each other. Two people who chose the dark completely. Exactly," Maya kissed him once. Soft and sure, "Now let's finish what we started." The following week they gave Edmund his ending. It happened in the same warehouse where they had first gathered their people. The space, now feeling like it, belonged to a different story than the one they were living. Their most trusted people present. Stone, Leo, the others who had stood with them from the beginning. Edmund was brought in, barely recognizable. 6 months of understanding exactly what he had lost had unmade him more thoroughly than any physical punishment could. His expensive taste in everything reduced to nothing. His constructed confidence completely gone. "Edmund Thorne?" Dante's voice was formal and clear. "You were judged for treason, murder, and betrayal. The evidence was complete. The decision was made. Do you have any final words?" Edmund looked up. His eyes found Maya's face. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely holding together. "For your brother, for everything. I believed I was doing what was necessary. I was wrong. I was completely wrong." Maya moved forward and crouched down to meet his eyes directly. "You were wrong. Darius was a good man trying to make one mistake right. You murdered him because his existence inconvenienced your ambitions, and you have spent 6 months understanding what you took." "Please," Elias whispered. "Please, just let it be over. It's over now." Maya stood and looked at Dante. "Make it quick, he's suffered enough." Dante stepped forward. "This is for everyone you betrayed, everyone you hurt. May it mean something to those who hear what happened here." The sound was clean and final. Edmund was gone. The warehouse went quiet. Then Stone stepped forward. "It's done. Justice has been given." The others echoed the acknowledgement. The old betrayal addressed, the new order confirmed. Maya felt Dante's hand find hers. She held on. They walked out of the warehouse together, stepping into bright morning Los Angeles sunlight. It felt strange, almost intrusive after so long living in necessary darkness. But walking to their car, fingers intertwined, power radiating naturally from both of them, Maya understood something. They didn't need to hide anymore, didn't need to operate in shadows and pretend to be smaller than they were. They were the king and queen of the Shadow Clan, and they ruled without apology. 3 months later, Maya stood before a mirror in their bedroom, adjusting her dress for the annual gathering. The same event where everything in her life had turned over completely, now transformed into a celebration of their reign. She barely recognized the woman looking back at her. Gone was the frightened waitress infiltrating enemy territory. Gone was the shattered sister carrying only rage. In her place stood a queen, powerful, dangerous, certain. The dress was deep red silk, designed to command every room it entered, her hair falling in loose curls. The black diamond ring catching the light. She looked like violence wrapped carefully in beauty. Dante appeared behind her in the mirror. Impossibly handsome, his hands settled on her waist, ready to face our people. There was warmth in his voice now where once there had only been controlled calculation. Always Maya turned and straightened his collar, though I'll admit I preferred when we were the ones crashing parties rather than hosting them. We can still crash something later if you need it. His smile was wonderfully wicked. Maybe that charity event the mayor is hosting. Show up uninvited. Remind everyone we're still us. Maya laughed. You are a genuinely terrible person. And you love me for it. I really do. She kissed him softly. I really, really do. They arrived at the Golden Pearl. Their place, their territory, transformed for the evening into something that announced power without needing to say it out loud. The same venue where Maya had once carried drink trays now hosted every significant person in the city. All of them there to acknowledge the new order. Maya moved through the crowd with Dante at her side, accepting greetings, noting who had shown up and who had not, radiating the kind of authority that doesn't need to be announced. These people feared them, respected them, understood clearly what crossing them would mean. It was deeply, darkly satisfying. Dante's mother was there, holding quiet court in a corner with others of her generation. When Maya approached to pay her respects, the older woman's gaze was sharp but no longer hostile. "You've surprised me," she said. "I expected you to be a weakness he'd eventually outgrow. You've proven yourself formidable instead." "Thank you." Maya meant it genuinely. "Don't thank me yet. I'm still watching." But the edge in her voice had softened to something that might eventually become acceptance. "You've been remarkably competent so far. My son chose well." Maya nodded once and moved on. She would never be close to this woman. Too much history between them, too much that couldn't be undone, but mutual respect was enough. It was more than enough. The night moved forward in a blur of conversations and careful performances. Maya and Dante moving through everything as a single unified presence. Near midnight, they slipped away to a private balcony, the party continuing behind them. But out here, it was just the two of them and the city and everything they had built. "Do you remember," Dante said, "that first night, when you spilled that drink on me and chose to fight instead of kneel down and apologize?" Maya smiled. "How could I forget? I was convinced you were going to have me disappear before morning." "I almost did." He turned to face her fully, "but then I saw you in that ring, fierce and completely unwilling to break. Even when you were outmatched and exhausted, I thought to myself, this person is dangerous." He reached up and touched her face gently. "I had absolutely no idea just how right I was. You didn't just challenge me physically. You dismantled every wall I had built. You made me feel things I had spent years convincing myself I was incapable of feeling. You saved me from the thing I was becoming. And you gave me permission to become the thing I needed to be," Maya said. "So I'd say we're even on that." They stood like that for a long moment. Two people who had found each other in the dark and decided to make it their kingdom. "I love you," Dante said. "My queen, my partner, my home. I love you," Maya said. "My dangerous man, my king. My home." They kissed as the entire city spread out beneath them. A million lights marking territory that was theirs to hold. The dark wasn't their enemy anymore. It was their strength, their source, their throne, and from this darkness they would reign. Not as hero and villain, not as victim and predator, but as two broken people who had become something extraordinary in the space they created for each other. Together, unbreakable, always.